Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our final session of today. I can see people coming in, so I think we'll give it just a few seconds to make sure everybody comes in, makes himself or herself comfortable, maybe grabs a cool drink, some water, coffee, tea, and then we get started. For those who are already here in the audience, why don't you let us know where you're joining us from today. If you want, type a quick message in the chat to let us know where you're all joining us from. Let's see. Oh, from Görlitz, Germany. Hello. Okay. I think everybody else is still getting comfortable. Okay. Sounds good. So I think let's get started. Well, welcome to today's final session of our Education Weeks, final session for today only, which are part of the German Convention Bureau's summer campaign, Germany at the Heart of Future Events. I am Ursula Winterbauer, and on behalf of the German Convention Bureau, I would like to welcome you here in our virtual venue. Now, just a few words about this summer campaign that we are running. The German Convention Bureau created this campaign for event organizers who are still unable to travel internationally, but who would like or who would need a space to reconnect really with the destination. Heart of the campaign, of course, is the virtual marketplace, where we have around 70 German partners in our 4-month virtual exhibition. And you're, of course, welcome to visit the exhibition at any time in the next today, tomorrow, in the next weeks or so. For your information, we will be recording the session, and the session can be accessed in our library here in the virtual venue very shortly. Also, I'd like to ask you to use the chat functions. Do send us your question, any comments at any time via the chat function, and we will get to your questions and answer them during or after the session. And now, let me introduce our speaker, Inge Huijbrechts. Welcome, Inge. Inge is Global Senior Vice President, Sustainability, Security and Corporate Communications with the Radisson Hotel Group. Together with her team, she lays out the strategy for responsible business from build to operation and keeps Radisson employees around the world engaged in everyday responsible business actions. Inge will talk about the various elements of an event's footprint and actions you can take to minimize those. And I think we will also hear about delegate engagement when organizing sustainable live and hybrid events. So Inge, the floor is yours. Thanks for joining us today, and I look forward to the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Ursula. It's so wonderful to be here. Happy Monday, everyone. As we are getting ready for summer and already the second half of the year, I want to thank you for taking this time to spend this moment with me to learn, but also discuss sustainable hybrid and live meeting event solutions. So we will be going through a presentation for about 30 minutes. And then there will be space for 15 minutes of Q&A. So I really would invite you to also type your questions in the chat box, and we'll come to that at the end of the session. And during the session, we'll also have a few polling questions to get your opinions and to see what your thoughts are. So let's have a look at what it means to organize a sustainable hybrid and live meeting or event. First of all, what is actually the driver of a meeting or an event footprint, and how big is it? Just to give you an idea, there are some measurements in resources which I found of a large live event of 5,000 participants, and they measured the split between the different components. So on the pie chart there, you can see, and that's no surprise at all, that travel is actually about 70% of a meeting or event's footprint, followed by the lodging, so the hotels, the food and beverage that you are catering for, and the energy requirements of your video setup, your presentation setup, etc. Remember, this is for a live event. Now, any event ranges between 160 to 1,000 to even a ton of kilograms of CO2e, so carbon emissions, per participant per day. And the reason why it's such a big variation, it depends, of course, of where you're hosting your event. How much is that travel footprint? Do you fly people in long haul, short distance, these kind of things? And also where you are hosting your event. We'll come back to that. Now, there is an outfit called Meet Green who are now comparing the footprint of a live event with a fully digital event like we're having today. So this was for an event, what you can see on the infographic was actually for an event they did for the United Nations, where they compared if this event was fully digital, because it took place, I believe, last year. It was 1,000 participant event for 2 days. And they compared the live version of that, if it would have taken place with the fully digital version. So you can see that this event, if it were a live event, would have had a footprint of 550, so half a ton of carbon per participant per day. So really on the middle of the average of what it is of the range in a live event, but still on the high side, to 17 kilograms, only 17 kilograms per participant in a fully live event. So that's then calculating the service, the internet connection, the camera, the energy, etc. But of course, we all know that there's a real benefit in live events. Personally, I was back in our Madrid office a few weeks ago, and just by being in the office and being with colleagues, it's so enriching because you have conversations and you have a productivity in meetings, for example, that you do not necessarily have when you go fully digital. So how does that look for the future of events? And I think there's been a lot of talk about this, but I'm fully convinced that, and not only me, but I'm fully convinced that the future of meetings and events will be clustered and hybrid, meaning that they combine live and virtual. So I've tried to schematize this on the right-hand side. So what you will have is live meetings in several locations. I've drawn 4 here. So these locations would be central, would be where your delegates can convene, for example, in country or without too much travel. They would be connected through meeting technology, very performant meeting technology. And then you can still invite a lot of participants to be part of your event, a whole event or sections of it in a fully digital way. And there was actually an outfit that did a comparison for a 300-person event between live, where everybody is together in the same place, or a clustered and hybrid event. And they saw that this kind of clustered event, like it is drawn here, a hybrid event, had actually a 73% reduction in carbon emissions. So fantastic. It's the hybrid version between fully live in one place and fully digital. So 73% in carbon emission reductions, but also a large cost saving, mainly due to travel and lodging that was avoided, and also a massive reduction in time because people were traveling much shorter distance, or those who were connected from too far away, they could just connect digitally. So they could also have a bigger reach because they could increase their number of delegates. So the reduction in emissions was equivalent to the same amount of carbon that 35 people living in the UK would produce over a whole year. So that's quite impressive. And the time saved, because people traveled less, was actually equivalent to 6 months worth of working days. So this is a performance solution. Now, I just wanted to come in here before we dive into the details of how you can make these cluster and hybrid events sustainable. I would like to ask you if sustainability is a decision factor when you are choosing a venue or when you're organizing your event. Is sustainability a decision factor when you are choosing a venue for your meeting or event? Simple, yes or no. So please give me your votes. I think the calculation of results is happening now. Wow, yeah, of course, given the fact that you already decided to tune in to this session, I'm not surprised by this answer. And I'm glad to see that almost 90% of this group is actually looking at sustainability of the venue where they are hosting their meetings and events. I would love to hear why not or not yet for those who said no, so maybe we can come back to that at the end. Then actually, I just have to click here, I think, for a second polling question, and I need to read this out. Oh, it's already on the screen, it's fantastic. So if you are considering sustainability for your meeting or event, what aspect is the most important? So I'm making you choose. It could be that you're looking at multiple of those, but please choose the most important one. Is it either your carbon footprint reduction, your waste minimization, the fact that your event will not use single-use plastics? Is it in your choice of food, your menu selection to have it local, seasonal, plant-based, or is it something else? So looking forward to see the calculation of this question. This takes a bit more time, I think, to answer because it's a multiple choice one. So here we go. Oh, we have an almost equal split. Look at that, between carbon, waste, and the food. Okay. Very interesting. I'm just writing this down. Each at 30%. Thank you so much for voting. It's really excellent to learn this, because we did actually the same survey together with Longitude, which is a part of the Financial Times Group. We did a similar survey with lots of European EMEA meeting and event planners in 2019 in 12 countries. And there's also a research that was done by the Events Industry Council on Sustainability in Meetings and Events. And that was in 2019. Of course, it was pre-pandemic, but it's still it's not that old. And it has some very interesting findings. So first of all, 80% of the meeting planners we surveyed said that sustainability is important when they are selecting the venue. So in this group, you're doing better. You said 90%. In general, they said 80%, but still a very high number. We also checked if the businesses we interviewed said that they were working on reporting and reducing their emissions. And that is something where 89% of businesses, and that was questions in our study, but also in the CDP research, actually 90%, 89% of businesses overall are saying that they have targets, they're reporting, and they're reducing their emissions. And personally, we have seen this even during the pandemic and now coming out of the pandemic. Corporates who are our clients, they are working on very ambitious carbon targets and they want their meeting and events to be part of this. Now, what we also learned in 2019 is that the fact of offsetting a carbon footprint is interesting to meeting planners, but it's considered an advanced feature because it's very hard, or planners told us that they found it was very hard to actually calculate that footprint. And then also, like you said, food waste was a number one. Also, waste in general, you are saying, but in 2019, plastics was very much top of mind for planners. Now, following that study, what we did with Radisson was to say, we're going to make it easy for planners worldwide So in all our meetings and events worldwide that are hosted in a Radisson hotel, no matter which brand of our 9 global brands, we make sure, Radisson makes sure that the meeting venue is carbon neutral for the time you're meeting with us, for the space you're taking in your meeting venue with us. And we do this through carbon offsetting with a partner called First Climate. They're actually German, and they are one of the biggest and most important carbon offsetting companies in the world. So when clients meet in a Radisson hotel, we make sure at no cost to the planner, so we take the cost for it, that the meeting venue is already carbon neutral. So that takes one of the elements actually off the table, and we offer it for free to you. We do this, we offset in a normal year, of course, not in 2020 and not in 2021 because of lower occupancy, but in a normal year, we offset over 38,000 tons of carbon by doing so. And we do this, we chose projects that are a combination of offsetting through renewable energy, but as you can see in the pictures, also social projects that are about reforestation, that are about clean cooking, and that are about, well, clean cooking in Kenya and in India. So they are aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals. And then what we do for the meeting and event planners is that we give you or your clients actually a certificate of how much carbon was offset in your name for this event. And in total, to make it tangible, people love to express this in cars. So it means it's 8,300 cars taken off the road. So it is 38, almost 39,000 tons of carbon. It's quite impressive. So other things which can be considered and should be considered when you are looking at meeting sustainability is actually how the venue is sustainable. And before offsetting, what we also need to consider, of course, is how much the venue is actually first reducing their carbon footprint and reducing their water footprint and reducing their waste footprint before any offsetting is being considered. And a good way to do that is by having, and that's the second bullet point here, energy saving systems in place in the building itself, so that the energy use and therefore the carbon footprint of the building is as low as we can have it. Of course, if a venue is purchasing 100% renewable energy, that's even better because it means your footprint will be close to zero for the building itself. The picture you're seeing there is of our Radisson Blu Stockholm waterfront, and they are actually a super sustainable building. You can't really see it too much on this picture, but they have a huge glass wall in their meeting and event section, which is actually a heat collector because it's double. So 2 glazing walls, 0.5 meter apart from each other, and the air trapped inside is heating up, even in Stockholm. It's heating up, and that heat is being used to heat water in the hotel. So it's really a very, very interesting building. But even in other buildings that are not so avant-garde in terms of sustainability because they're not new, you can really have very good performance in reducing carbon footprint, reducing energy use, reducing water footprint. The other thing on waste, for example, that is very important is to look if your building or your venue is eco-labeled. For example, we use Green Key International out of Denmark. There are other very good eco-labels like EarthCheck or Green Globe. And it's always good if your venue is eco-labeled because it means they do the right thing in terms of waste recycling, in terms of training their staff, et cetera, et cetera. In terms of single-use plastic reduction, I think there's a lot to be said in many countries, not everywhere, but there's a lot to be said about using tap water or filtered water, which is filtered in the venue itself. So please, it's really a call for action to avoid plastic water bottles. It's a thing of the past. Most people travel, or you can even stimulate your delegates to travel with a reusable water bottle. And that is such a tangible cost saving also for your meeting and events. Just to give you an example, when Microsoft decided to ban plastic water bottles from their events, of course they have huge events, they saved $600,000 a year just by doing that. You can also be clever about it and give a reusable water bottle as a giveaway. And then finally, another thing which you also said is the food. Well, spot on, because if you look at the whole footprint of a hotel or of a meeting and event, if you look at a footprint of a hotel, over 80% is in the supply chain. And a lot of that is in food and beverage. So the food you choose, what you put on the menu, and also how much you reduce the food waste is very, very important for your total carbon footprint of the event. And again, this is something very tangible, which you can explain to your delegates. So I would suggest to promote plant-based or vegetarian dishes. I would certainly suggest to promote local and seasonal food, and you can work with the venue to do that. For example, in our hotels around the globe, 30% to 35% of all our dishes are vegetarian. And then you can also ask for smart ways, if it's allowed in the country, to distribute leftover meals, if of course it's allowed in the regulations of food safety. But for example, in many places you can work with innovative startups like Too Good To Go, who will connect consumers with venues, hotels, restaurants who have safe meals that are left over, and they are sold then on the platform for a very low price, and that then avoids food waste. So let's have another polling question. What other sustainability actions can you take when you're organizing an event? And there I would ask you to just type in some words. So just type them into the chat, and as you start typing, I can see them appearing. So I see there's already 4, so let me go to the chat. Okay, we're asking if you have any ideas of what other sustainable actions you can take when you're organizing an event or a meeting. Any ideas, any thoughts, any questions? I'll just give it a few more seconds. I don't know if I need to go up to see more. Hello, no, this is really the latest. Okay, seems like this is a bit daunting, so it doesn't matter. That's all right. We'll just go and continue. So some of the things that I would certainly advise you to consider when you're organizing a meeting and event, and some of these things are quite obvious, but they make a massive impact. One of them is to just have online registration. Please, please, please avoid any paper. Also, avoid materials and handouts. Give people an app. Everybody is used to the digital world, especially since Corona and the pandemic, but don't give handouts, don't give printed materials. You know that on average, in a conference, people throw away 2 kilograms, every delegate throws away 2 kilograms of waste, 2 kilograms of waste. And a lot of that is going to landfill. So please go for electronic distribution of materials and handouts. Again, minimize packing and shipping materials. Think about how you pack things, how you ship them around, especially when you are when you're organizing a massive conference with booths and displays and things like that. And also, if you can, use a shipping company that offers carbon neutral shipping. I would also advocate for reusable badges and signage. And a very important thing there is to not print the year. Don't print company conference 2019. Just say company annual conference. And then you can maybe reuse some of your signage in the next year. Also with the lanyards, we love lanyards and they are practical, that's true, but do not print a year on your lanyard. So people can take them home and bring them back next year. I always carry a Radisson Hotel Group lanyard in my suitcase. I have it in a small pocket, and I never accept any new lanyards of any conference. I think that's one of the simple things to minimize waste. Then also, if you want to give prizes and giveaways, maybe you can gamify, maybe you can do things that are given away digital. A lot of the giveaways are also throwaways. So if you give something away, make sure people can use it, and it also fits the sustainability story. And then also minimize your travel distance for attendees. As we have seen in a live event, 70% of your footprint is travel. So minimize it, do a cluster where people can really come to in a regional, to a regional hub. Now, of course, in these times, I just want to end maybe with a few notes on safety and duty of care, because next to sustainability, safety and well-being is still going to be on people's minds, at least in the next 6 months, but I would say in the next year or maybe longer, 18 months, it's not going to go away. I'm also responsible for safety and security in the group, so I'm really convinced that it's important that next to sustainability, we really continue to think about safety and duty of care in our meetings and events. So just a few notes on that for Radisson. We have defined last year, just before summer, we defined the Radisson Hotel Safety Protocol. We did that in partnership with SGS, which is a large B2B company that does certification and testing and things like that. So it's 20 steps for hotels, 10 steps for meeting and events. The protocol that we defined is still being upheld and validated globally for a second year in a row. So we are now in our second cycle of having all our hotels validated on it. So you can rest assured that in any hotel it's being applied. It's of course about cleaning, disinfection, physical distancing, wearing of masks where this is still mandatory. It's about food safety training, etc., etc. So you can read all about it on our website. And then the thing we have added to this duty of care as an option for meeting planners is also to offer rapid testing. Because we know that next to vaccinations, and I'm sure that many of you live in a country where vaccination is progressing really well, so we are lucky to benefit from this miracle of medicine to have our vaccinations. There's still people who are not vaccinated. There is dangerous variants of the virus which are still circulating. And there are some countries where people unfortunately do not have access to vaccination in the same way that other countries have. So massive testing, when you organize your clusters events, rapid testing is essential to create a safe meeting bubble. And we have also partnered with Hughes Healthcare to distribute and foresee healthcare professionals to do this rapid testing pre-event so that you can ensure that your regional cluster is really a safe bubble. And we do this in 25 countries in EMEA, and you can see here on this map where this is happening, where this is available. So for example, also in Germany. So if you are in Germany, you want to organize a cluster event, you want to do this in a safe bubble, you know that the hotel is going to be safe thanks to our protocol, but you can also organize rapid testing. And then summarizing, before we dive into the Q&A, I would say hybrid is here to stay, but I look forward to the moment when we can organize live events again in a clustered fashion. As we were saying before, we are doing it as Radisson. We are offering it to our clients, but we're also doing it. For example, we are organizing an event for our key corporate clients in September, and we're doing this as a clustered event in 4 locations with our own executives spread over the 4 locations and with meeting technology connecting these 4 locations. So we're practicing what we preach, I would say. I would just like to go to a little video about hybrid events and how you can make them successful with the German Convention Bureau's chief, Matthias Schulze. So if we can just have the video now, Linda, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Matthias Schulze. I'm the German Convention Bureau's Managing Director. Our mission is to promote industry know-how, support event professionals and drive innovation for business events by providing a platform to exchange experiences and ideas. Germany is a global leader in the field of business events. Back in 2019, over 420 million people came together for a total of nearly 3 million events. From our latest Future Meeting Space research, we learned that most experts expect hybrid formats to shape the event landscape today or in the near future. Due to the increasing focus on hybrid formats, locations also need to expand their technological infrastructure as well as their digital expertise and data management skills. Locations like the Radisson Blu Frankfurt that take on these challenges and lead the way with smart solutions are ideally positioned for future success.
Radisson Blu Hotel Frankfurt is one of the country's top event venues, well known for its striking architecture and trusted for its award-winning conference facilities. Our hybrid meeting rooms are the ideal solutions for sessions such as trainings, workshops or advisory boards. Each room is equipped with modern video conferencing technology, fast Wi-Fi, and we have partnered with Zoom to create collaborative, easy-to-use meeting spaces with flawless video and audio. As an alternative to large conferences, we offer pop-up studio solutions in partnership with Encore. Our studio allows for custom branding opportunities and is equipped with all the essential technology and staging equipment that you need to record or broadcast a message for your hybrid or virtual event. And of course, our clients can book with peace of mind knowing that their guests are in safe hands, thanks to our Radisson Hotel Safety Protocol, developed in collaboration with SGS.
Thank you very much. I don't know if I'm on mute. Can you hear me? Yes, you can. So thank you very much. I'm actually again for a summary of what we said. Let me share again. So I think, the video explains it very well. I hope you got really a taste and an eagerness to meet again in a clustered or hybrid way, so you can reach as many attendees and even more as before, that you can do this taking into account duty of care, that you can reduce travel costs, but also emissions. Remember, about 75% reduced emissions, and it's more convenience. So you can do this. I hope you got the taste of it. You look forward to it just as much as we do to see you in one of our hotels or in an event. So thank you very much. I will actually stop sharing my screen, and I hope we can go to a camera mode where we can see maybe some participants and have a look at what is in the chat in terms of Q&A.
Well, thank you very much, Inge, for this really insightful presentation and interesting facts and figures. I learned really some amazing facts and figures, like the 2 kilos that each delegate throws away. That really struck me. Wow, that's yeah, I would never have that. And also that there are really some simple things that you can do, that everybody can do to minimize waste, such as, don't put a year on the signage or on the lanyards. It's so easy to do, and it makes such a difference. So we do have a couple of questions in the chat, and I'm sure there'll be more coming in. Now, to start with, Inge, there are, of course, lots of initiatives to drive sustainability in events, but for an event planner for someone who hasn't really tackled the issue of sustainable events yet, what would you recommend where to start?
Yeah, I think we should look at it from a pragmatic way. And what I would recommend is to really look at your own company. If you're organizing an event for your own company, or if you're organizing it for a client, I would say look at that client's sustainability policy or priorities. Look at their purpose. Look at your own company's purpose. Start there to focus. For example, if the client has a science-based target, which is an ambitious target to reduce carbon, then let's focus there, because carbon is important to your client. If they have a no plastics policy, then focus on that. I would not try to do everything at once, but really look at the priorities of your client or your own and align with that. Then pick those priorities, and I would say work through them throughout your event. I would certainly say include them in your RFP for the venue, but maybe also for your transportation partners, for people where you go for an outside event, or as I said, even for your shipping partners. Make sure that you ask for the same things consistently, so you can really have that impact throughout all the aspects of your event or meeting. And the third thing, which I think is very important always, is to inform your delegates, engage them. If you want to minimize plastic, tell them why you're not putting plastic bottles on each meeting table. Tell them why they won't have straws. Tell them why you don't have plastic cutlery or any throwaway cutlery, for example, and engage them. And if you want to be more advanced in that, and you're very much into the digital space, try to do this with a gamification, with some fun, bonus points for the environment that you can gain by making pledges yourself. I've seen that work in very, very large events, and it's really important that you engage the delegates to have a maximum effect.
Yes, I think definitely communication with the delegates, with all the stakeholders is a major issue, and try to involve as many stakeholders as possible in your initiatives. Absolutely. Yeah. And how is the venue's carbon footprint measured? We talked about, a venue or building's carbon footprint, but how is that really measured? Is there a tool to measure an event's footprint from A to Z, or do you use different tools, or how do you go about that?
Yeah, I can first speak to how we do it in Radisson for our hotels, because of course, when we say we offset the carbon footprint of all our meetings and events, we need to know what the carbon footprint is to be able to offset it. And we use a tool which is free, which is specifically for hotels, and it's actually an industry-wide tool that all the big hotel companies, together with some key partners and consulting companies, have defined, which is called the Hotel Carbon Measurement Initiative, or HCMI. So that's actually a standard methodology which was recognized by the World Resources Institute and by other partners. It was really defined on an industry level, and it's free. So if your venue is not using it, I would certainly advise you to ask them to use it, because it's free and everybody can do it. Then in terms of event footprint A to Z, there's a couple of tools. But I would say there are some that are out there specifically for meetings and events, but I haven't seen one that is fully validated. So it's a little bit more tricky. And that's maybe something to be done in the industry as well, is to say, how do we do this so that it's also validated by, for example, the World Resources Institute? But you can look at, for example, the calculator offered by BP. Of all companies, BP has defined some tools, and one of them is an event calculator. I think they defined it for their own meetings and events, but I would say be careful, because it's not really validated by some technical experts. And then, as I said before, when I showed this infographic really in the beginning of the meeting, infographic of fully digital versus fully live event is actually from Meet Green.
Mm-hmm.
They are also doing carbon footprint calculations for full events, but actually in a spirit of let's not meet physically again. So I think for the whole event, it's a little bit more difficult.
Maybe not the perfect solution.
Yeah, that's a call for the German Convention Bureau to help with that. But I would say for venues, it's really clear. It's clear, it's the Hotel Carbon Measurement Initiative, and it's free and it's freely available to everyone.
Yeah, so anything from free tools to maybe a wider industry approach that we could follow. Yeah. I'm looking at the chat and we had a couple of questions come in. So first of all, great initiative, Inge, Ulrike says, and she would like to know, how are you engaging your supply chain in the process?
Yes, as I said, it's very important in a hotel. Well, a lot of the footprint comes from food and beverage. So in a hotel, there's two things, right? There is the brand standards for meetings and events. Like, for example, on the pictures which I showed you, you will see that there are no plastic bottles or on any of those pictures. And also what we did is replace the plastic pens that we have in meeting and event locations by pencils. And another thing we did in our brand standards is to make sure that you put like, how do you say that? Consumables like paper or pens, or not pens, but pencils in a special place, and not just distribute them out to every seat, because the point is, if you have them in front of you, people start doodling on them anyway, and then you have more paper waste, etc., etc. So one important thing is brand standards. The other important thing is food and beverage, because as I explained, a lot of the carbon footprint comes from food and beverage. So we have certain targets that we give our hotels, because a lot of the food and beverage supply chain is very local. So we measure how much of the food and beverage that hotels buy on a national level or a regional level or even a local level is seasonal, is bio, and in terms of fish is according to a sustainability standard like ASC or MSC. And that is the way, it's more like guidance, and then it's up to every hotel to make that interpretation because it's so local. But we have also excellent, we measure and we also share best practices, and we work very closely with procurement, by the way. So we have in our procurement teams, we have a sustainability champion who is a regional procurement lead. And the lady is actually somebody who promotes in the whole procurement team sustainability. So she's also in every meeting of our procurement team, in every meeting, she has her targets. So she's also promoting it with our suppliers.
Very good. Thank you. Another question, of course, costs involved, the very important issue or topic. What will be the cost impacts of the additional safety provisions, especially the rapid testing that you mentioned in your hotels?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question, because of course we're all recovering, right? Everybody is in recovery mode and we all want recovery to be successful. So first of all, the safety protocol per se doesn't cost you anything. The fact that we apply it throughout all our hotels and all our meeting and events location doesn't cost a meeting planner or a client anything. We do it because we want to keep our people, so our guests and our employees, safe. So that is one thing. The other thing is, of course, the rapid testing. Now, that depends on the location, because what we do is we have selected a highly reliable rapid antigen test, which is amongst the best on the market, and it's close to the reliability of a PCR test. So the tests themselves are not very expensive, but we do also always organize a healthcare professional, a minimum one, to be on site, because we want efficiency and reliability of those testing. So it depends on the location. I can't really give you a cost, but I can tell you it's really affordable to do this for a meeting. And it's also really fast, because of course these rapid antigen tests, you have results in 15 minutes. So what we recommend is to work with you when you organize it, so that people have a maximum wait of 1.5 hours for a big event before the event starts. And of course, you can fill that 1.5 hour, because after the rapid testing, you create a safe bubble. So you can actually fill that 1.5 hour with some networking, with some information you already share with your delegates, with some videos you are already sharing, or people can just work in a space which is the green safe bubble zone after the rapid antigen testing.
The green safe bubble zone, I like that. Yes. So just make good use of the extra time that you're using. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I think that I don't see any more questions at the moment in the chat. So this would bring us to the end of the session. Thank you so much, Inge, for speaking to us today. It's really been a pleasure, and I learned so much in your session. And of course, thank you to our audience for joining us today. We will continue tomorrow afternoon at 4:30 p.m. Central European Summer Time with a panel discussion. We will speak to 3 associations from the United States who will discuss the new roadmap for their programs and for their post-pandemic events. And of course, everybody, while you're here in the GCB's virtual venue, I'd like to invite you again to visit our virtual exhibition, meet with some of the German partners, and really find out what's new and how Germany has prepared for the new now. So I hope we'll see you back in the virtual venue in our upcoming education sessions. Stay tuned for more, and thank you for joining us today. And again, thank you very much, Inge. It's really been a pleasure.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Bye-bye.